Welcome to the GBA. Today we're going to be going over our draft team that we've picked. Me and my assistant coach Scorpion over here. Would you like to say hello?
Hello everyone.
So we're going to go through each Pokemon from the top of the list to the bottom of the list. We'll go over why we picked them, what the idea was behind picking them, etc. We'll go over what our Terra Captains are, and we'll explain a bit more about what a Terra Captain is as well when we get to it. So starting off, let's just go ahead and go into Great Tusk. Got anything to say about Great Tusk?
Yeah, so of course, we obviously had Great Tusk on our minds the second we started with the drafting process of the GBA because, me and Jack both agreed Great Tusk would have been an amazing first Pokemon. As we all know, it's the most used Pokemon in the overused Smogon format. We had a couple of other Pokemon on our eyes as well, I think, if I remember correctly, like Chi-Yu and Iron Moth. But those Pokemon actually, I think, got sniped off of us. So instead we went with the next best option, which would be the best rapid spitter in the game, of course. Great Tusk obviously also is a very, very powerful wall breaker. It can do a lot of different things. This picking up this Mon first draft was a solid pick, I reckon.
Oh, 100%, I agree. Great Tusk is just a brilliant Mon. I mean, it was like an audition-based draft, so you get a certain amount of money to spend. I think it was about, 450 or something points? And I think 500 points, 500 points, and your maximum bid for the first round was 400, and we ended up spending 300 of it on the Great Tusk. That's how much we were like, you know what, we really want Great Tusk, go for the 300. No one else wanted to go over that, so we're just like buzzing, got Great Tusk. So moving on to the next one, we'll go over Walking Wake. Walking Wake was on my mind the whole time. It's like a gut feeling. I was like, I really want Walking Wake. It's a great Pokemon, Water Dragon, all that is great offensive typing, great defensive typing, only weak to Fairy and Dragon. Hits incredibly hard, and it is unfortunate, I'm going to spoil it for the rest of the video, we didn't get to draft Torkoal, but we can sort out the Sun another way if we need to, and also our first game versus Playmore Esports has a Torkoal on his team, so like we could always take advantage of that if he brings it, which I don't know whether he will or not, because game's not due yet. Winky face. What's your comments on Walking Wake, Scorpion?
So, obviously, after we drafted the Great Tusk, the first thing on our mind was, so we have the Great Tusk, a very, very strong physical attacker. Next thing we were obviously looking for is a fast special attacker. Now, again, some of the Pokemon that were on our minds were Iron Moth. I think that was the first one we were considering. Chi-Yu was another one that was on our minds, obviously with that Beads of Ruin, hits incredibly hard. But most of those, I think, got sniped before us. The Dragapults stole Iron Moth off of us before we could get it, and I don't remember who ended up getting Chi-Yu, but both of those were already gone by the time it was up to us to put the second Pokemon up. And but Walking Wake was still there, and those who have used Walking Wake in Overused or anywhere else will know still how ridiculously strong this Pokemon is. Obviously, Water and Dragon is a very strong offensive type combination. And this Pokemon in general just has very high special attack and speed alongside the necessary coverage for the few type combinations that even resist Water and Dragon. So I think it complements Great Tusk very well. Obviously, they both have the photosynthesis, so if we do get a Pokemon that can set up Sun, they can both benefit from that greatly. And I think those who have used Sun Squads in particular will know probably the great synergy between these two. So I think not only is Walking Wake a very good Pokemon individually, but it actually works rather well with Great Tusk in particular too. And
with the rest of the team as well, to be honest with you. Definitely with the rest of the team. So moving on to the next Pokemon, we've got, according to the GBA list here, this isn't in the draft order, we didn't draft them in these orders, it's just the list order. We've got Frostmoth, who is one of our Terra Captains. It can Terra into the Ice type or the Water type. They're the only two types you can use. We figured Water was a good type just purely for the fact that it'll get rid of rock weaknesses, fire weaknesses, fighting, steel is a resistance as well. All that sort of stuff. Frostmoth's a great Pokemon as well. Quiver Dancing, you've got Defog for that utility. It gets U-turn, obviously Heavy Duty Boots, Bug Buzz, and having Terra Blast Water is going to be a very good thing to catch things off guard. I mean, not really, because they're going to know we're Terra Water or Terra Ice, but at the same time, could still work out in our favour. So, you got any comments about Frostmoth?
Yeah, obviously most of the things you said definitely apply there. I think because of the fact that we know, or that our opponents know rather, that we have Terra Water, I would say that's probably the best Terra type to go for still, mainly because of how strong it is as a defensive typing. For example, for Frostmoth offensively, another solid option I would say would be Terra Ground. However, if you see that coming, there's just a lot of other things that you could hit a Terra Ground Frostmoth away for. At least, you know, obviously Ground has more weaknesses than Water. And yeah, man, I mean, it is listed as a D tier Pokemon. Obviously, we had to get one of those, which is worth mentioning. And in our list of remaining Pokemon, there honestly weren't that many available options. But for the utility that Frostmoth brings us, obviously, like you said, it grabs momentum with U-turn. It still gets Defog, one of the few flying types, or one of the few non-flying types, sorry, that still gets Defog this gen. And obviously, as a Quiver Down Sweeper, it's absolutely amazing. And another thing that's really worth mentioning is Frostmoth's Ice Scales ability is often overlooked. Its special bulk with that is absolutely off the charts. For a DT Pokemon, we really thought Frostmoth was an amazing pickup for sure. And it being one of our Terra captains gives us you know, that just ascends its potential even higher.
Moving on to the next Pokemon, we've got Bisharp. I'll let Scorpion take the lead on the Bisharp one.
Yep, I'm sure you... so for those who watch Jack's channel, obviously you might have seen me as a battler that has appeared on his channel a few times. And one of my very first battles with Jack, we played in the UU tier pre-home, and I 5-0'd him with a Bisharp. Now...
you had to bring that up, didn't you?
Of course. But of course, with that in mind, we do know that Bisharp is a very, very powerful Pokemon. I'm sure most people can agree on that. Thanks to the existence of King Amber this generation, it actually is able to hold a Violite, which makes its amazing defensive typing of Dark and Steel already even more potent. And obviously having a Steel type, especially a bulky one such as Bisharp, is incredibly valuable for any team to have. Bisharp can also set up Stealth Rocks, which is often overlooked. I think that's going to be a very, very useful ability, and especially those strong Sucker Punches as powerful priority. Obviously, every team benefits from good priority, right? Like, I think that's pretty much a given at this point, and especially against more offensive teams, that's going to come in clutch a lot.
100 billion%, yeah. Bisharp's got quite a few utility moves as well that not a lot of people know about. For example, Thunder Wave is a very good utility move. Is that am I using that word right? Utility move? Is that correct? Yeah. So Bisharp can throw out random paralyses to the Pokemon that it pretty much walls thanks to its Violite, which is great for crippling big threats, especially, for example, for our first game of the season. We've got a big terror on our Play More Esports team called Roaring Moon, and if we can Thunder Wave that thing, that'd be great. That's if we bring Bisharp, which we might not. We might not bring Bisharp. I don't think we should bring Bisharp. We'll see how it goes. So next up, we've got Rotom Heat. And that's a B tier Pokemon. And we pretty much decided that we needed to have some sort of electric type and a fire type. So like Rotom Heat kind of fills both roles. We had to pick a B tier at this point. So Rotom just kind of fit the role really well. It can, you can run it defensively, offensively. You got Choice Scarf with Trick, stuff like that. Obviously we can't Terra, so we can't take advantage of any sort of Terra typing. But I think that's the beauty of the GBA this season, is the fact that only you know which two Pokemon can Terra, and you know what types they can be. And it really takes the edge off and the surprise factor from the Terra, which makes you feel like a more old school type of battle. None of these gimmicks or anything like that, or at least they're there, but they're easy to work around because you know what's coming. But you got any comments about Rotom Heat that I missed out on?
Well, I think one of the main reasons, obviously, like you said, we wanted a fire type, and that also obviously complements our Fire Water Grass core with another Pokemon we'll get to in a minute. But the thing that I really like about Rotom, or at least the beauty of it, and that applies to most of the Rotom appliances, but in particular Rotom Mow, Heat, and Wash, is that they are very unpredictable. You can very easily go offensive with these guys with powerful moves like Overheat, Volt Switch, Thunderbolt. But these Pokemon, thanks to their amazing typing and obviously Levitate ability, an electric fire type like Rotom Heat in this case, which would normally be 4 times weak to fire, is now immune to it. And that also, again, thanks to its access to Will-O-Wisp, Thunder Wave, it can really spread statuses. And it's just got an amazing overall defensive typing. So it really is going to be difficult for the opponent to see, oh, is this going to be offensive, is it going to be defensive? The calcs for that obviously will be very, very different, and we can really just customize it to our liking, which I think, you obviously also mentioned the potential of Trick. So even if it is a defensive Rotom, if they haven't seen Boots or Leftovers yet, they might be hesitant to switch something in that's tripled by Trick. So yeah, I think for that reason, the Rotom appliances overall are very, very useful, and Rotom Heat complements our Fire Water Grass core beautifully.
100%. I completely agree. Everything you just said, flat out agree. So moving on to the next Pokemon, we've got Screamtail. Now Screamtail is one of our A ranks that we managed to pick. We've got a very paradoxical team going on with a Great Tusk, Walking Wake, and Screamtail, and another member that we're going to go over shortly. Screamtail's a great Pokemon. Well, I can't even get my words out. You can utilize it really well with different moves. You know, screens, you've got status inflictions. You can go offensive if you want to, offensive Calm Mind. It's got Wish, all that wonderful stuff. It's a great cleric to the team. Minus, I don't think it gets Heal Bell or anything like that, does it?
But yeah, I'd say like what I personally like to call is I like to call Screamtail like the queen of utility, basically. Like it's the amount of utility, it might not get Heal Bell, but other than that, it can do so many different things. It can spread paralysis, it can set up screens, it can grab momentum with the Dawn Pass, it can pass wishes. It's the amount of things that this Pokemon can do is insane. Obviously, we also have the Great Tusk and the Walking Wake. Another thing that this thing can do, which it even benefits from itself, is this is a great Screamtail is a great manual sunsetter if we need it. The defensive typing of Psychic Fairy leaves it with no 4x weaknesses, which means it's also a great wall. And it is also, spoiler alert, the fastest Pokemon on our team, which gives us a bit of speed control. And not to mention that unlike a lot of other Pokemon, it can, thanks to photosynthesis, it can get a speed boost without needing to hold a scarf if it holds boost energy or is active during harsh sunlight. So it gives us some decent speed control in that as well. And Screamtail's offensive stats, while not the best, it does get decent coverage, and it's actually got decent stab moves, like with good base power as well. So, weakened offensive threats, it can definitely still pick off, especially with that speed boost, while still allowing it to switch up moves. So Screamtail, big wildcard on our team, honestly. I think it's a solid one.
No, 100% agree. Good shout, good shout. Moving on, we've got the legendary, the classic, the true ghost type, the original ghost type, Gengar. Gengar is a brilliant Pokemon in my opinion. I mean, it can do a lot of things. You've got Choice Scarf, Choice Specs, all that with the standard sets. Gets great coverage. You've got Energy Ball, Dazzling Gleam, Focus Blast, Sludge Bomb, and Ghost typing. It gets Icy Wind as well, I believe, which can be interesting. But it also gets Trick. It gets your utility moves like Destiny Bond and Will-O-Wisp, stuff like that. Taunt. It can also set up weather. I think it gets Sunny Day, doesn't it?
Yep, it does.
It gets Sunny Day as well as Rain Dance. You got any comments about Gengar?
Yeah, I mean, I think you summed it up pretty nicely. What's really good about Gengar is, again, it's good speed control. This Pokemon is very fast, and the combination of Ghost and Poison isn't exactly the most easy to resist in the world. It's just a very strong special attacker overall. That also gets good coverage. It gets Energy Ball, it gets Focus Blast, it gets Thunderbolt, it gets a lot of different things to complement its powerful Shadow Balls and Sludge Bombs and whatever else it may desire. Like you said, it's got a lot of utility. Gengar is just unpredictable, and I think one of the biggest keys to Draft League in general is unpredictability. Making your opponent second guess, and not knowing what kind of set you're going to be. What if they think you're a standard Life Orb sweeper, they swap in a special wall, and suddenly you trick them with Choice Specs. That's all like powerful weapons we've got at our disposal here. And I think Gengar, don't sleep on this Pokemon. It's very strong.
Oh, 100%, yeah, 100%. So moving on to our second Terra Captain, we've got Iron Leaves. We thought Iron Leaves was a pretty good pick. I'm not going to hog the spotlight too much. I'm going to let Scorpion go into a bit on Iron Leaves, because Iron Leaves was basically one of your picks, wasn't it? At this point, so I'll let you take the stage for this one.
Yep. Well, some of you viewers out there may know I am a big fan of Iron Leaves. It is one of my absolute favorite Pokemon for Gen 9. As a matter of fact, I've got my own Draft League team, which it's pretty much the mascot of. So I am absolutely loving this Pokemon, both in other draft formats and in Gen 9 competitive in general. And I think this Pokemon is hella slept on. Thanks to us devoting Iron Leaves as a Terra Captain, it can Terastallize out of that nasty Grass Psychic type. Our Terra types for this Pokemon are Psychic and Fire. Psychic obviously allows it to get rid of all of its grass-related weaknesses, which is amazing, and also power up its signature move Psyblade, which is very strong, while Fire flips its entire matchup shot on its head and allows it to melt the Steel types and Bug types that would normally stand in its way. Iron Leaves is a very, very powerful sweeper in Draft League format, in my opinion, thanks to it also being able to boost its speed without being restricted by a choice item, thanks to Boost Energy. It can either go with a Boost Energy Speed Swords Down set or with a Boost Energy Attack Trailblaze. You can literally choose whatever you desire. If this Pokemon is active during Electric Terrain, it becomes even deadlier. So Iron Leaves, in my opinion, hella slept on. And again, thanks to us being able to Terastallize this Pokemon, it can really, really clean up games or be a wall breaker. This Pokemon, again, just don't sleep on it. It's in my opinion, one of the most underrated Pokemon in Gen 9, period. I think it's amazing.
Okay, so that good words of wisdom there. Let's move on to the next one, being Moltres Galar. This was a pretty good pick. I think Moltres Galar is a powerhouse, Berserk and everything, that Fiery Wrath, Hurricane, Spam. It doesn't get Heat Wave, which is unfortunate, but it's fine. Dark Flying is pretty good coverage in itself. It's not too bad, but it also gets certain moves like, what does it get? Substitute. I'm struggling to think what Moltres Galar even gets now. That looks pretty bad, that does. I'll go and have a look. You take over, Scorpion.
Okay, no worries. I mean, I'd say the main reason why we drafted Moltres Galar is because we wanted a solid sweeper. Moltres Galar was a Pokemon that we drafted mainly for its sweeping potential. Obviously, it's got that access to the Dual Dance set. It's got access to Nasty Plot and Agility. The combination of Dark Flying is also very, very solid in general. Its signature move, Fiery Wrath, hits like a train. And obviously you can switch between Air Slash and Hurricane. It's just a very solid, powerful, special wall breaker / sweeper, and it's one of the biggest benefiters from a potential screen setup. We have plenty of screen setters, mainly Screamtail. It really is one of those Pokemon that can take great advantage of all the utility that some of our other team members offer, and it's also a ground immunity, which is never not useful.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's also useful to note that it also gets some out-of-the-box moves, like Sucker Punch, for example, if you really need that priority, or you want to catch someone off guard with priority. Also gets moves like U-Turn for that pivoting, and also it gets Tailwind, which is a pretty interesting move for speed control. It could definitely turn the favour in our... What am I trying to say here? You can definitely turn the battle in our favour. Yeah,
for sure. And what's interesting as well is Moltres Galar actually has a somewhat usable attack stat level of 85. Not the best, but like you mentioned, with moves like U-Turn and Sucker Punch, it can really catch an opponent off guard.
Moving on to the next Pokemon, we've got Braviary. Braviary is a very hard-hitting Pokemon. It hits like a truck on the physical side. It's not got the best speed tier in the world, but it's nothing to scuff at. You can run a Choice Scarf, Choice Band set. You can bulky with Boots. You got that Defog and the Roost. That's pretty useful. It also gets a utility in U-Turn. And it also has the interesting ability Defiant. So if our opponent's team, for example, has a lot of Intimidate users, or even just one Intimidate user, we could definitely turn the battle in our favor by switching it in on that, and again that Intimidating of all that stuff. Or if they've got like moves like Mystical Fire, Moonblast, and stuff like that, if we could switch it in on one of those, get a special attack drop, boost our attack power, it's just going to make it off the charts. Braviary overall, I think was a solid pick. We basically had to pick B, C, and D tier. Moltres was our B tier that we had to pick. Braviary was the C tier, I believe. You got any comments that I didn't cover on Braviary?
No, I think that sums it up pretty nicely. Again, I think that Defiant ability is really going to come into play a lot. And another nice thing as well about Braviary is that it actually gets half decent coverage as well that people might not expect. It gets things like close combat.
Close combat. I completely slipped my mind. That did.
Yeah, it gets close combat. It gets Iron Head. It even gets Rock Slide and things like that. It gets Zen Headbutt. Like, it gets a lot of different things that you might not expect it does. And yeah, along with the other things you mentioned as well, like Great Pivot, gets Defog. And it's also a really, really good abuser of a choice item. I reckon, no spoilers, but I think we're going to be abusing Choice Band and Choice Scarf a lot from this Pokemon this league.
100%. No, I agree with that. So, moving on to the final Pokemon of our team, we've got Samurott. Not Hisuian Samurott, just regular old Samurott. And this was one that, Scorpion, you really wanted us to get Samurott, didn't you? And I did agree to it. I fully understand where it's coming from. So I'm going to let you take the stage for this last Pokemon.
Well, obviously with Samurott, this was a D-tier Pokemon that we had, and we were basically using up our last bit of currency for this last Pokemon. And as I mentioned before, even with the Frostmoth section, the last remaining Pokemon in the D-tier were honestly not very good. Like, there was, some things like Gabite and a lot of other NFE Pokemon in there, but Samurott still was. And I honestly thought that our team style, as you may have noticed, is very, very offensive. We're definitely going more of an offensive route with this draft league, as me and Jack are both pretty comfortable building with that. But Samurott honestly has quite a few good tools, especially compared to some of the other DT choices that we had available. The main thing, obviously, it's a nice mix attacker. It can run both physical and special. due to its pure water typing, it actually can get a surprising amount of decent switch-ins. Like it can utilize things like Assault Vest very well. And it is in general just quite an unpredictable offensive Pokemon that even adds a little bit of extra priority to our team. Obviously, Bishop, Sucker Punch is all well and good, but other than that, our priorities options were a little bit lacking. So having Samurot's option in terms of Aqua Jet, I figured would be a really great addition. So especially with our team style, I think Samurott was one of the few viable additions we could have made, like last final additions we could have made to our team that would be a solid choice.
I pretty much agree with everything you had to say about Samurott there. Can't think of anything else to say. Obviously, it can be physical or special as well, which is good to note. Did you mention that? Yeah, I don't know where you mentioned that.
Yes, I did.
You did. I kind of zoned out for a second there. Sorry about that.
No worries.
I always do that. Anyway, that was the draft analysis for the Wolverhampton Weaviles in the 10th season of the GBA. Go check out everyone in the GBA's channels. I'll leave a link to everyone's channels in the description. The first week's battle goes live on the 30th of July? Sunday?
I think so, yeah.
30th of July, the Sunday, around 9 p.m. EST, I believe. So watch your subbox for that. Go ahead and join the GBA fan server and select the role to support the Wolverhampton Weaviles if you want to. You don't have to, obviously. But it's a pretty cool server where they do a lot of tournaments and stuff like that. So if you're interested in tournaments, go ahead and join those. I think it's like, Fantasy League and stuff like that.
Indeed.
Definitely something worth checking out. So I'll leave a link to the Discord I'll leave a link to the actual fan server Discord, not the official GBA server like I did last time. So whatever you do, make sure when you join it's the fan server, not the actual server. Please. I won't make that mistake again. Alright, thank you for watching today's video. If you did enjoy, of course, leave a like, subscribe, all that wonderful stuff. And Scorpion, would you like to say goodbye?
Well, I think we're going to try our best to bring home the W, and as you always say, we'll see you all in a bit.
There we go.